light on.
Okay, hey, this is Jack.
You need the light on.
Maybe no, we just go behind now. I close the door. Okay, so we're now in your grocery shop, Jack, and we'll have the conversation just behind here before we start really showing the shop.
Give us a few minutes. It's nice to sit down. I left the house at...
Okay, Jack.
Yeah.
Well, very glad for you to receive me in your shop. You're quite famous. You're quite a famous man. This is what I what I just checked out on the internet, because I saw a documentary already from 2009 about this neighborhood.
Oh, that's yeah. I have a copy. I must give you a copy.
The Liberties.
I have one. I've loads of them there. I'll give you a copy as a present.
Oh, that's great. But can you tell me this neighborhood here, the Liberties?
Yes.
Why is it so special? What's the thing about this neighborhood?
Well, it's special in its tradition and in its history. Liberties. A quick history would be that Henry II had a bishop murdered in about 1,000 years ago. Famously, the murder in the cathedral, because he was giving them a lot of grief, and then he got a pang of conscience and he felt very sorry for what he did. So he gave all the lands around here to monks and gave them a liberty, and there was a liberty or a freedom from taxes. So the liberties is basically a freedom from taxes.
Oh, that's great.
And then the monks had it for up to €500. Of course, Mr. Henry VIII came along and lashed everybody out of it, the monks, and drummed them all out, and gave the lands, particularly around the liberties, to a man called Brabazon. And Brabazon was the under treasurer to Henry VIII. He was the second in command of the money in England, and obviously in a very high position. And when Henry VIII threw all the monks out, he gave the lands around here to him.
Okay, but Jack, now we're not in a history course in Trinity College right now, but we're talking about history. The history of your shop, which is also quite old. We go back to history of your shop.
Modern history. Well, it started, I suppose, with my grandmother, who I never saw. I'm 71 now, and she was dead 4 or 5 years before I arrived. And they had a shop in Meath Street here. And then my father, who was born in 1892, he didn't get married till he was about 50. And my grandmother and my father and his brother, there was only the three of them. The husband was off the scene he was a sailor and sailed away. Apparently he never sailed back.
Okay.
But anyway, they went to live in Boston for a number of years. About 10 years plus, I think they came back. Like a lot of a surprising number of Irish that came back. Everybody thought that when you went away you were never seen again, but quite a number of them came back because they found it harder over in the States.
Exactly.
Because at that time, actually one of the reasons was because the black people had all the jobs around there, all the menial jobs, and when the Irish came, they started taking their jobs, and there was absolutely, probably not known, it's a great bit of little history, and so a lot of Irish came back home. Including my father.
So what year?
Mother.
What year are we
We're talking about what came. He was born in 1890. We're talking about he was back, I think, 1910, because they're here for the 1911 census, which is again over 100 years ago. And they opened another shop on the corner of Engine Alley, which is just further on up. And then when I was born, my grandmother had died, and they had another shop which was on.
Okay, Jack, to make a long story short, this shop is older than 100 years.
The one I was in is over 100 years. I rent here. I sold my lease because my children have no interest, and I never encouraged them, because small shops, there was hundreds and hundreds of shopkeepers like me, and now I see them in the morning. There's a handful of us. I mean a handful of actually greengrocers. There's a lot of people doing all bits and things, and butchers are selling everything, but that's beside the point. There's actually, and they're happy. They're all happy, and I'm glad they're happy.
So yeah, exactly. So 100 years. So
it's about 100 years.
100 years. This is incredible stuff. So you have seen so many things in your shop changing and happening. Because this is one of the things I also is the reason why I'm here, because I'm doing this work. I'm selecting all kind of shops in Dublin, and people started talking about you. You have to see really. So now, yeah, because he has so many stories to tell. Okay, we cannot just, of course, not listen to all your stories, but
you asked me the question.
Yeah, something that stands out when I see things on your shop on the internet is that you really maybe more have a social function than you are selling groceries.
Well,
I mean, you know everything about
say
the people.
that's only the selling of the fruit and veg is only the second part. Well, I am involved socially. Currently, I'm chairman of a local drug rehabilitation group. That's just up in Thomas Street, and we're in the process of merging with another one, which will be a good thing. And I'm some years in that, so I'll be retiring from that. But I'm also chairman of the local police forum, which is a police and community come together, and it's sort of
okay, let's not go too deep into this, because but what I want to talk about more now is how do customers see you more than as a seller of groceries, but also like as a people to trust, as a people to discuss their problems with.
Yeah.
Can you tell something about that? How does this happen?
I'll give you a small example.
Yeah.
Now, and listen, there's a Lidl's on the thing, and I never knocked them. They're here, and they serve a function, and they were great during the recession, and people go, and they apply a great service. I just say to people, well, Mr. Lidl, which he used to be called, has his business and I have mine, and ne'er the twain shall meet. But having said that, there was a lady here a couple of weeks ago, and it was like a Wednesday, and it was very quiet, and she was confiding in me, and I was listening to her, and as she walked out the door, she said to me, "You wouldn't get that at the till in Lidl's."
At the Lidl, you mean?
Yeah, you mean the point that I was talking to her, and I was listening to her problems and consoling her a wee bit, I should hope. When she walked out the door, she said, "You wouldn't get that in the till in Lidl's." But she didn't mean necessarily Lidl's. She meant any supermarket, any bigger conglomerate that you couldn't confine somebody you don't know. The girl is serving you, the man who's serving you, they have a badge on them to give their name. No one even looks at their name. I always look at their names, and I always say, "Where are you from?" And they look at you sometimes in surprise when you say their name, because they forget they have their badge on.
Yeah, so what kind of problems or topics are typical for your customers to discuss?
There's a range of topics. Tonight I'm going to a show in one of the local schools, and it's on suicide awareness. And that's has been a big issue now in Ireland. In fact, the Irish suicide rate, which one time was held by Sweden apparently, now Ireland must be in the top 2, 3, if not necessarily in the top 1 pro rata of population for suicides. It's a terrible thing. This is a young lad that committed suicide, and
you mean someone from the neighbourhood?
Locals, yeah, and there's been a few locals. Now, in my own, that's just one issue, and there's the like anybody come in and they say like, "How are you feeling?" And there was a doctor this morning. I have arthritis, of course, is known as the Irish disease because nearly everybody in Ireland gets some form of arthritis because of our damp climate.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the topics you discuss.
But there'll be topic anything from, look at the range is just, I just said that one because I'm going to that tonight. It'll be also, while it's a suicide awareness dash, it's a play by local artists and local actors, all amateur, and there's also a bit of humour in it, because there's great humour in this neighbourhood. It's funny. There's a lady just went out the door just before you came in, Nuala. She's a grandmother, a great grandmother, a very young great grandmother. She has a gansy load, as we say in Dublin, a gansy load of kids. I mean, loads of kids. And she was telling me there recently, her husband was down, Leo was having a drink in the pub, and fellas in pubs will talk about anything. Simply anything. Anyway, they were talking about potatoes, and one fella says,
about potatoes.
The lads in the pub were talking about potatoes, you see. And one fella says, "Well, how do you like your potatoes?" I said, "Well, I like chips." The other fella said, "Well, I like a roast potato." The other, "I like a boiled potato." And one fella said, "I like jacket potatoes." Jacket potatoes, said Leo, that is Nuala's husband. I've never heard of jacket potatoes. So man, she get one whole potato, and he can just bacon and put mayonnaise, and he really gave it a great description. So Leo went home that night, you see, after a good few drinks, and said to Nuala, the great grandmother that he's married to for 50 odd years, Say, Nuala, you never gave, the lads were talking about potatoes and you never gave me jacket potatoes. Jacket potatoes, she says, by the time you come home, they're in their pyjamas. So that's sort of funny humour. And yet, she didn't consider herself funny. See, that's the point of the local humour. They say something not realising how funny it is. And they say it in a more dismissive form, like as she was of him.
Okay, another thing. In the 2009 documentary, which is now already 6 years ago, you were talking about this is like the United Nations of nationalities.
That's
I
true.
remember that. And at
United
that time,
Nations of fruit and veg.
Yeah, exactly. There were so many foreign people, all different colors. How did this develop since then, since 2009?
Well, then, look at a lot of them are settled down. They're here. They're Polish primarily, Lithuanians, Malol, and like all nations from Africa, everywhere. And they've bedded down. Their children are going to school here. They're in their friends. They have no intention of going back. This is their home now. When a lot of people, I mean, it's the home to them because it's where they live. They have flats and houses and children going to school. And I mean, some of them are here quite a number of years.
How would you say, what was the percentage of your clientele Irish, non-Irish? How would you describe that?
It's an excellent point. Well, I tell you one thing. If we didn't have the clientele of what's the term non-nationals, which a term I don't like. I think any of them terms are abhorrent to me. But if we didn't have them, I would probably have to close the shop because they make up a good percentage of my business.
50%.
Well, maybe not 50%, but certainly anything between 30 to 50, 30 to say. I'll put a figure on it and say about 40%.
That's a non-Irish share.
30 to 40%.
Okay, that's okay.
We couldn't have a business without them.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about your products because this is in fact my main point of interest. Of course, I'm very interested in what you do in your trade.
Right.
So there's a lot of discussion lately. Maybe you are aware of this about the quality of fruits and vegetables because people say the soil is now very tired.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same nutrients in it anymore as, for instance, in the time of your grandfather.
Yeah.
Because then, how do you view this thing? Do you what do you think about it?
Well, listen, I have one answer to that in this way. In the Western world, people are living longer and longer. So what the hell? There must be something good in the soil. So that's my answer to that.
I also want that you maybe tell something about the products. That you do you do any innovation, or did you just recently introduce new products, or on what reason? And I'm very interested if you show me something.
There's always new things on the market. But the only thing that stops me is price prohibitive. There are items. For instance, I saw lime. Now we see the common lime, a little round lime. During last week, someone said, "Jack, have a look at these," and they were limes. I called finger limes. They were just like that. Said that's as we know, a chili, but the lime was like that.
Oh, really?
Except it was ridiculously dear. And if you close your eyes and taste it and taste the other one, it's the same thing. So there is ridiculous things on the market at really
high priced also.
High price, that's the whole point of it, high price and ridiculous. But
can you show something with what you recently introduced and what's now really doing well?
That is comparatively recent, but we would never had some years ago was the likes of celeriac, which makes the most delicious soup and mash, and it's sort of our customers of the Balkan areas, that's like quite common to them. And beetroot, of course, they love beetroot, and Indians and Pakistanis absolutely adore that beetroot. And particularly if it has the leaf on the end of it, sometimes it's not easy to get the one with fresh leaf on the end. And of course, fennel again was something that's people say, "What's that, Jack? What's that?"
This is in Holland very popular.
It's, very popular, and people say it's it's an aniseed. It tastes like licorice. Yeah, that's what I describe it to people.
And the sweet potatoes,
the sweet potatoes again are something some years ago you never had. What are they? People, they're standard now. Yeah, they couldn't be without them.
Yeah, exactly. So.
You want to go?
I think so.
Are you sure now?
Yeah.
Okay, so what have we got? €8?
Oh no, you're on.
No, you're making a tenner, so a tenner, as they say. All right. There's a lovely place.
Oh yeah.
It was a nose. I think the average woman now will live in the Western world to be 80 or 82, and the man is always about 4 years behind them. Well, that's, we've more strain in our lives. I'll say that as a joke, but so it defies that. In my estimation, it defies that. There's for productivity, one has to have. They can't go back to the great grandfather's time, because now with a bigger population you need more. Certainly there's stuff used in the soil, and organic stuff to me is to a degree a little bit of a sham. Now somebody sets out to grow organic. A classic example to me was years ago when a farmer who I know well, who greatly looks after his product, but he does spray and put down things to keep down pesticides. And a man next door to him was going to have an all organic farm. So Jackie said, I'm out spraying my stuff. There's a breeze comes and it takes the stuff across the wall, if you like, for want of a better word. Now, where's your organic if the man's spray has gone in there? Having said that, about 200 metres from where we're sitting, there is a genuine organic. And it's the National College of Art and Design, and they have a garden up there, and I'd love to bring you into it. And it's a man called Tony Louth, who's the mainstream of it, and they even get the soil he uses, or the fertiliser he uses. There's a lot of horses around here, because they use them on Stevie. You see them on Stephen's Green, you see the horses of people going around, and most of them are stabled in this area. So he collects all the horse manure. He also brings up seaweed from the west of Ireland and mix it. This man is unbelievable. If I had time, I'd run up with you now and show it to you.
Okay, so this is...
so I'm saying that the only real organic place I know is 200, is in the middle of the city here, up the road.
Okay, so the fruits and vegetables you sell here, they're just grown the normal way?
Normal way. We do, there is organic stuff. Sometimes we get organic bananas if I see stuff, and if the price is right, the price always has to be right. It's now you're saying, well, that's an organic banana, but it's twice as dear as the one beside it. That doesn't work. It's all, you have to be commercially, and you have to be competitive.
So what if you compare your stuff to the Lidl you talked about? What's the difference? What's the difference? Is there any difference?
Well, yes. Well, it is different, because I go to the market every morning. It's fresh. I see what I buy. I know what I buy. If I'm putting it like this, it may not be the case, but if anybody in Lidl is the person over to them, they're buying a product. Now, it could be lawnmowers, or it could be oranges. It's a product, and that's the way they view it, as a product. So no one is out. I go to the market, when I'm buying an orange, I'm testing it. When I'm eating an apple, I'm testing it.
Exactly, yeah.
But they're buying it on a computer. It could be they have never seen it. They've never seen what they buy. I go to the market 5 mornings a week. Everything I buy, I see. I load them up myself, and then it's delivered, other than what I bring up myself from the market.
So where do you go to market? Is that here in central Dublin, this market, or not?
It's Little Mary Street.
Yeah, exactly, this one, yeah.
There's no other one. No other market in Dublin. Now, there's, as I said, there are very, very few greengrocers. The market caters to the catering trade. Hotels, restaurants, cafes, that's orders go out all the time. That's what they do. It's the actual shop, there'd be no dependent on the shopkeeper. I walked down the market this morning about 6:15, and I was walking down on my own.
It's there in Little Mary Street, you mean?
In Little Mary Street,
exactly.
Yeah. There was a fish market, and they were built in 1888 or around 1890. The fish market, and which is now the car park, that was demolished some years ago, and now it's the car park. And now the one, it's the fruit and veg. It's a beautiful building, a Victorian building, and the plan is, and when you come across that or not, is to turn it into a type of what we have in Dublin called a Powers Court, a type of to match, like in Cork, they have a thing called the English market, and where it'll be sort of half retail and half wholesale, and that's the plan.
Yeah, okay, but this is okay. Well, let's look to your shop a little bit. While we
finished here?
We finished here. Then we're going to talk. So the last point I want to discuss with you, Jack, is how do you? Or you want to stay here, or we go?
No, we'll stay here to finish.
Oh yeah, very good. What do you think about the position of the small business owner now in comparison to the Lidls? Do you think there's a real future in Ireland for small businesses, or will they one time be all wiped away by the big mega corporations?
No, I would hope not. I would certainly hope not. And if anybody has their own business, a single individual like myself, they have to apply themselves to it. They have to give the people the best value they can, because you have to make a profit, you have to make a living, and give the best service you can and the best value you can. And beyond that, there's not much more one can do.
Okay, thank you very much for this interview.
And thank you, Michael.